The device hummed with power as Commander Raxven stood before the control panel. His gray skin reflected the blue light from the screen. His 4 fingers moved across the controls with practiced ease. This was the 63rd planet his empire had targeted for colonization. This would be his 63rd successful erasure. "Commander, the target settlement is locked," Science Officer Pelnara reported. Her voice was steady and professional. She had done this many times before. Population: 847 primitive beings. No advanced technology detected. No orbital defenses. They don't even know we're here. Raxven nodded. The Veltari Empire had perfected this technique over centuries. Find a primitive world. Select a small settlement. Erase it completely, using the displacement field. Once the town vanished into pocket space, the Empire could study the species safely. If the species proved useful, they would negotiate. If not, they would take the planet. The erased settlement would simply cease to exist. Clean. Efficient. Merciful. In a way. "Activate the field," Raxven commanded. Pelnara pressed the activation sequence. The device, hidden in orbit above the small planet called Earth, began to generate enormous power. An invisible bubble started to form around a tiny town in what the natives called Georgia. The town was called Hickory Falls. On the ground, Dae-Hyun Park was opening his gun shop. Everyone called him Duke. He had served in the Marine Corps for 12 years before coming home to run the family business. The shop sold guns, fishing equipment, and ammunition. It was 7 in the morning, and Duke expected a quiet Tuesday. He poured coffee from his thermos and unlocked the front door. The street outside was empty except for old Mrs. Choi, sweeping the sidewalk in front of her diner. Duke waved. She waved back. Then everything changed. The air shimmered like heat waves on hot asphalt. Duke blinked. For just a second, the whole world seemed to shift sideways. His coffee cup fell from his hand and shattered on the floor. When he looked outside, something was wrong. The sky looked different. Not darker or lighter, just wrong somehow. The air felt thick. "What the hell?" Duke muttered. Across town, Boram Choi was already awake in his garage. Everyone called him Bobby. He was elbow-deep in the engine of a 1987 pickup truck. Bobby could fix anything with an engine. He could also make the best moonshine in 3 counties. Though he would deny that if any law enforcement asked. Bobby felt the shift too. Every tool in his shop rattled. The light bulbs flickered. His radio went dead. He stood up and wiped his hands on his coveralls. Something felt very wrong. At the elementary school, Hana Kim was preparing her classroom for the day. She had taught 3rd grade for 15 years. She loved her job and loved her students. Hana was writing the day's lesson on the whiteboard when the shift happened. She stumbled and caught herself on her desk. When she looked out the window, the morning sky looked strange. She couldn't explain why, but it terrified her. In orbit, alarms were screaming. "Commander!" Pelnara's voice was no longer calm. "The field is unstable. The containment parameters are failing." "Shut it down," Raxven ordered. "I can't. The device won't respond." The displacement field had activated, but something had gone catastrophically wrong. Instead of cleanly removing the town from normal space, the field had trapped it inside a bubble of twisted reality. And worse, the field had expanded beyond the target zone. The Veltari ship, still in low orbit directly above the town, had been caught in the edge of the bubble. Lieutenant Kivnash gripped his weapon console. "We're being pulled in." The ship shuddered. Metal groaned. Then, with a sound like tearing fabric, the entire vessel was yanked out of orbit and through the dimensional barrier. 30 Veltari soldiers found themselves inside the bubble, stuck in the atmosphere just above the town they had tried to erase. The ship crashed. It came down in the woods 3 miles outside Hickory Falls. Trees exploded into splinters. The ground shook. Every person in town felt it. It sounded like thunder and an earthquake happening at the same time. Duke ran outside. Half the town was already in the street, looking toward the woods, where a column of smoke was rising. That was no airplane, Duke said. He pulled out his cell phone. No signal. He tried again. Nothing. Anyone got a signal? People checked their phones. Everyone shook their heads. No cell service. No internet. No nothing. Sunny Lee came out of her diner. She was 72 years old and had lived in Hickory Falls her entire life. Everyone called her Sunny because she always smiled. But she wasn't smiling now. She was carrying her shotgun. Duke, what's happening? She asked. Don't know yet, Sunny, Duke replied. His military training was kicking in. Bobby jogged up, wiping grease from his hands. Yeah, but Duke, look at the sky. Everyone looked up. The sky was wrong. It was blue, but the blue was too flat, too perfect, like someone had painted it. And at the edges, near the horizon, there was a shimmer, like the whole town was inside a giant snow globe. What the hell is this? Bobby asked. Before anyone could answer, they heard it. A sound like nothing any of them had heard before. It was mechanical, but also organic. A whining, humming sound that made teeth ache. From the woods, coming down the main road into town, came the aliens. There were 30 of them. They walked on 2 legs, like humans. But that's where the similarity ended. They were tall, maybe 7 feet. Their skin was gray and smooth. They had no hair. Their eyes were large and black. They wore armor that seemed to shift colors. And they carried weapons that glowed with purple light. Commander Raxaven led his troops into the town. He was angry. He was confused. His ship was destroyed. His mission was ruined. And somehow, he and his entire crew were trapped with the very primitives they had tried to erase. But Raxaven was also confident. These were primitives. His soldiers had advanced weapons and armor. They would take control of this settlement, figure out how to escape the dimensional trap, and complete their mission. It would just take longer than planned. The Veltari marched into the town square where the humans had gathered. Raxaven raised one hand. His translator device activated. Primitive beings. His voice boomed out in English. You are now under the authority of the Veltari Empire. Surrender immediately, and you will not be harmed. Resist, and you will be eliminated. There was a long silence. Then Duke spoke. Bobby, is this some kind of government thing? Don't look like any government I know, Bobby replied. Hannah pushed forward through the crowd. She stared at the aliens with fascination and terror. I think they're actually aliens. Real aliens. Aliens? Jimmy Kang laughed. He was Bobby's nephew. Only 23 years old. Come on. This is some kind of test, or movie or something. Raxaven didn't understand the delay. Why weren't they surrendering? He raised his weapon and fired it into the air. A bolt of purple energy shot upward and exploded in a shower of sparks. That's when Sunny raised her shotgun and fired both barrels into the air. The boom echoed through the town square. Every Veltari soldier flinched. They had never heard a chemical explosive weapon before. It was loud and primitive and terrifying. Sunny pumped her shotgun to reload and pointed it at Raxaven. You want to surrender? Honey? Duke grinned despite himself. He reached behind his back and pulled out his pistol. All around the square, other people started pulling out weapons. Rifles from trucks, pistols from purses, shotguns from houses. This was a small town in rural Georgia. Everyone was armed. Raxaven stared in disbelief. The primitives were threatening them? With crude projectile weapons? This was insane. Fall back, he ordered his troops. We need to reassess. The Veltari retreated slowly, keeping their weapons trained on the crowd. The humans didn't follow. They just watched. Guns ready. When the aliens disappeared around the corner, Duke turned to face his neighbors and friends. Everyone to the diner. Right now, we need to talk about what we're going to do. As the townspeople filed into Sunny's diner, No one noticed Pelnara at the edge of the alien formation. She had her scanner out, analyzing the dimensional bubble that trapped them all. Her findings terrified her. The bubble was stable, but it wouldn't last forever. In approximately 6 months, it would collapse. When it did, everything inside would be destroyed. Every human, every Veltari. All of them would die together. Sunny's diner was packed. Every table was full, and people stood along the walls. The smell of coffee filled the air, but no one was drinking. Everyone was talking at once, their voices loud and scared. Duke stood on a chair and whistled loudly. The room went quiet. All right. Listen up. We don't know what's happening, but we know a few things. 1. We can't call out. No phones, no internet, no radio. 2. We got visitors who crashed in the woods. 3. Those visitors got weapons we ain't never seen before. They're aliens. Hana said firmly. She was sitting at the counter with a notebook, already writing down everything she had observed. Real aliens from space. Their technology is far beyond ours. Okay, let's say they are aliens, Duke continued. They came here for a reason, and I don't think it was friendly. They told us to surrender. Like hell, Bobby said. Several people muttered in agreement. Jimmy jumped up. We should hit them now. While they're confused. We got numbers, and we know the town. They don't. Hold on, Duke said. We don't know what those weapons can do. We saw one shoot, and it made sparks. Could be they can level this whole town. But they didn't, Sunny pointed out. She was pouring coffee for people even though her hands were shaking. Hana looked up from her notebook. Maybe they need us alive. Or maybe they weren't prepared for resistance. Did you see how they reacted when Sunny fired her shotgun? They were scared. Scared? Jimmy laughed. Those things are 7 feet tall, with space guns. Scared, Hana repeated. They flinched. Every single one of them. I don't think they expected us to fight back. Duke thought about this. So we got a chance. But we need a plan. Bobby, what's your take? Bobby scratched his chin. Well, if they're stuck here like us, they need food and water same as we do. Their ship crashed pretty hard. I'm betting some of their equipment is busted. And these old buildings in town? They're made of brick and wood. Their fancy weapons might not work so good against solid walls. You want to fortify? Duke asked. I want to be ready. Bobby said. If they come at us again, we make it hurt. Doc. The meeting lasted another hour. By the end, they had a plan. The men would set up defensive positions around the main street. Bobby would rig some surprises on the roads leading into town. Hana would try to figure out more about the aliens and what was happening. Everyone else would gather supplies and prepare for a fight. In the woods outside town, Commander Raxven was having his own meeting. His ship was destroyed, his crew was shaken, and somehow, these primitive humans had weapons that seemed to frighten his soldiers more than energy weapons. Report, he demanded. Pelnara stepped forward. Commander, I've completed the initial scan. We're trapped inside a dimensional bubble. It's stable for now, but it won't last. We have approximately 6 months before it collapses and kills everyone inside. Can we signal the Empire? No, Commander. The bubble blocks all long-range communications. We're completely isolated. Kivnash slammed his fist against a tree. This is unacceptable. A group of primitives threatens the Veltari Empire? They're not as primitive as we thought. Pelnara said quietly. I scanned their weapons. They use chemical explosives to propel metal projectiles at extremely high velocity. Our shields are designed to deflect energy weapons, not solid matter traveling at supersonic speeds. Raxven felt cold. You're saying their weapons can penetrate our armor? Yes, Commander. There was a long silence. Then Raxven spoke. We need to take control of that settlement. We have advanced technology and superior numbers. Tomorrow, we attack properly. We show them the power of the Veltari Empire. The next morning came too soon. Duke hadn't slept. He'd spent the night helping Bobby set up defenses. They had stretched wire across the roads. They had positioned armed people in second-story windows. They had filled bottles with gasoline and stuffed rags in the tops. Bobby called them presents for our guests. Duke was checking his rifle when he heard the sound. That same mechanical humming from yesterday. The aliens were coming. Positions, Duke shouted. All along Main Street, people ducked behind cover. Rifles pointed out of windows. Sunny stood behind the counter in her diner, her shotgun loaded and ready. The Veltari marched into town in formation. This time, they didn't talk. This time, they meant business. Raxven had decided to make an example. They would destroy a few buildings with their energy weapons. The humans would see their power and surrender. Target the empty structures, Raxven ordered. Fire. Purple bolts of energy shot from Veltari weapons. They hit the old hardware store on the corner. The building exploded in a shower of sparks and flames. The Veltari soldiers cheered. Then Duke gave the signal. Now. The ambush was devastating. Gunfire erupted from every window, every doorway, every rooftop. Bullets slammed into Veltari soldiers. Their armor, designed to absorb energy, did nothing against solid metal moving at 3,000 feet per second. Soldiers fell, purple blood spraying. Raxven screamed orders, but his troops were panicking. They had never faced anything like this. They fired back, their energy weapons blasting chunks out of brick walls. But the humans were hidden, protected by solid cover. Bobby lit one of his moonshine bottles and threw it. The bottle shattered at a Veltari soldier's feet. Flames exploded upward, catching 2 more soldiers. They screamed and ran. Fall back! Raxven roared. Retreat! The Veltari ran. They left 6 of their own dead in the street. The humans didn't pursue. They stayed in their positions, ready if the aliens came back. When the sound of the battle faded, Duke lowered his rifle. His hands were shaking. Anyone hurt? We're good, Bobby called from the roof. All clear here, Jimmy shouted from the gas station. They had won. No human casualties. 6 aliens dead. It should have felt like a victory, but Duke just felt sick. He'd killed before, in the war. But this was different. These were aliens, real aliens. And now, they were at war with them. Hana came out of her hiding spot in the library. She looked at the dead aliens in the street and immediately pulled out her notebook. We need to study them. Learn about their biology, their technology. Later, Duke said. First, we need to secure the town. For the rest of the day, an uneasy silence hung over Hickory Falls. The aliens didn't attack again. They stayed in the woods, licking their wounds. As the sun set, Hana did something crazy. She walked out into the middle of Main Street, alone and unarmed. She carried a white tablecloth tied to a stick, a flag of truce. Hana, get back here, Duke shouted from the diner. She ignored him. She stood in the street and waited. After a long moment, one of the aliens appeared at the end of the street. It was Pelnara, the science officer. She approached slowly, her weapon holstered. Hana pointed to herself. Human, she said clearly. Pelnara understood. She pointed to herself. Veltari. Hana sat down on the ground. She pulled out a piece of paper and a pencil. She started drawing. Simple pictures. A circle with rays coming out of it. The sun. She pointed up. Pelnara sat down across from her. She understood. Communication. They needed to talk. For the next hour, the two of them sat in the street drawing pictures, pointing, trying to understand each other. Slowly, painfully, they began to communicate. Finally, Pelnara drew something that made Hana's blood run cold. She drew a circle. She drew lines around it, like a bubble. Then she made an X through the whole thing. She held up her 6 fingers, then closed one. She repeated this 6 times. 6 months. In 6 months, the bubble would collapse. Hana looked at the alien. Pelnara didn't understand the words, but she saw the fear in Hana's eyes. She nodded slowly. Hana stood up and ran back to the diner. She burst through the door where Duke and the others were waiting. "We need to talk to them," she said breathlessly. "Really talk to them. Because we're all stuck here. And in 6 months, we're all dead unless we work together." Duke looked at Bobby. Bobby looked at Sonny. Sonny looked at Jimmy. None of them wanted to trust the aliens. But none of them wanted to die either. "All right," Duke finally said. "We'll talk. But we do it our way. Tomorrow morning, Town Square. They can send 5 people. We'll send 5. Everyone else stays back, weapons ready. If they try anything, we end them." Hana nodded. She walked back outside where Pelnara was still sitting. Using hand signals and drawings, she communicated the plan. "Tomorrow, 5 and 5. Talk." Pelnara agreed. She stood up and walked back toward the woods. Hana watched her go, then looked up at the strange sky above them. Somewhere beyond that barrier, the real world continued. But in here, in this bubble, humans and aliens were trapped together. They could kill each other. Or they could try to survive together. Tomorrow would decide which path they chose. The morning came cold and gray. Duke stood in the town square with Bobby, Hana, Sonny, and Jimmy. All of them were armed, but their weapons were holstered. Around the square, hidden in windows and doorways, the rest of the town watched with rifles ready. From the other end of Main Street, 5 Veltari approached. Commander Raxiven led the group, followed by Pelnara, Kivnash, and 2 soldiers. They also kept their weapons lowered. The 2 groups met in the middle of the square. For a long moment, they just stared at each other. Then Duke spoke. "We got a problem. All of us. We're stuck here. Together." Pelnara's translator device had been working overtime to learn English from the previous day's communication with Hana. Now it spoke in a mechanical voice. "We understand. The dimensional bubble will collapse in 6 months. We will all die, unless we find a solution. So we work together," Hana said. "We help each other escape." Kivnash made a sound like angry static. His translator spoke. "Why should we trust you? You killed our soldiers. You tried to erase our town," Jimmy shot back. "You started this." Raxiven raised a hand for silence. "The young one is correct. We came to take your world. We failed. But now, we are all prisoners together. Continuing to fight serves no purpose." Duke nodded slowly. "All right. So how do we get out of here?" Pelnara stepped forward. "The dimensional field is powered by our ship's core. If we can modify it, we might be able to reverse the effect and return to normal space. But the ship is badly damaged. We need materials and tools we don't have." Bobby grinned. "Tools I got. Materials we can find. You just tell me what you need." "It's not that simple," Pelnara said. "The technology involved is far beyond your understanding." "Try me," Bobby said. "I've been fixing engines since I was 8. Show me what's broken. I'll show you how to fix it." Pelnara looked at Raxiven. The commander thought for a moment, then nodded. "Very well. We will share our technical knowledge. You will share your resources. Together, we will attempt to escape this trap. Then we got a deal," Duke said. He extended his hand. Raxiven looked at it, confused. Hana quickly explained the gesture. The commander reached out and shook Duke's hand. His grip was cold and dry, but firm. The alliance was formed. The first week was rough. The aliens set up camp at the edge of town in an empty lot. The humans gave them basic supplies: water, tarps for shelter, and food. The Veltari stared at the food with obvious disgust. Sonny brought out a plate of fried chicken and cornbread. "You got to eat something," she said to a young Veltari soldier named Tevrin. Tevrin picked up a piece of chicken like it might explode. He took a tiny bite. His face went through several expressions, none of them good. But he was hungry, so he kept eating. "Good boy," Sonny said, patting his shoulder. Tevrin flinched at the touch, but didn't pull away. Bobby and Pelnera spent most of their time at the crashed ship. The vessel was a wreck. Half of it had torn open when it hit the ground, but the power core was still intact, buried deep in the ship's center. "This is incredible," Bobby said, staring at the glowing sphere of energy. "What makes it work?" Pelnara tried to explain in terms Bobby could understand. "It creates a controlled tear in space-time, generating enormous power from the quantum vacuum." "Right," Bobby said. "So, it's basically sucking energy out of nothing." That is a very crude way to describe it. But essentially, correct. Bobby scratched his head. "And you're saying we can use this to bust us out of the bubble?" "Theoretically, yes. But we need to build a field generator, which requires materials we don't have. Specifically, we need superconducting coils, quantum processors, and a containment matrix." Bobby thought about this. "What if we use something else? What if we don't try to copy your tech, but mix it with ours?" "That's impossible. Your technology is too primitive." "Maybe," Bobby said. "But sometimes, simple solutions work when complicated ones don't. Come on, let me show you something." He took Pelnera to his garage. Inside was a mess of tools, engine parts, and electronics. Bobby pulled out a copper coil he'd been working on. "This is from an old radio tower. Pure copper. Wound real tight. It can't do what your stuff does, but it conducts electricity real good. What if we used this as the base and added your tech to it?" Pelnara looked at the crude coil. Her mind was racing. It was primitive. Yes. But Bobby was right. Sometimes simple solutions worked when complex ones failed. That might actually work. If we can adapt our quantum processors to interface with your electrical systems. "Now you're talking," Bobby said with a grin. While they worked on the technology, others worked on living together. It wasn't easy. Jimmy was teaching a group of young Veltari soldiers how to drive a pickup truck. It was going badly. "No, no, no," Jimmy shouted as the truck lurched forward and crashed into a fence. "The brake! The brake is on the left!" The Veltari soldier, whose name sounded like clicking sounds, tried to apologize. Jimmy took a deep breath. "It's okay. Let's try again. But this time, please don't destroy my fence." At the school, Hana was teaching English to a group of Veltari. She had set up a classroom and was using old teaching materials. The aliens were fast learners, their translators helping them pick up the language quickly. "Repeat after me," Hana said. "Hello, my name is." "Hello, my name is Pelnera," the science officer said carefully. "Good. Now you try." Hana pointed to Kivnash. The lieutenant glared at her. "This is waste of time. We should be working on escape, not learning primitive language. Learning to communicate properly will help us work together," Hana said firmly. "Now say it." Kivnash grumbled, but repeated the phrase. "Hello, my name is Kivnash." "Excellent. You're learning fast." Despite the progress, tensions remained high. Some humans still didn't trust the aliens. Some aliens still thought they should take control by force. One night, Jimmy and a group of younger men gathered at the gas station. "I don't like this," Jimmy said. "We're giving them everything they need to know about us. What if they're planning to attack once they learn enough?" "Duke says we need them," one of the others said. "Maybe Duke's wrong," Jimmy replied. "Maybe we should handle this ourselves." Before he could say more, Kivnash walked past. The lieutenant had been learning the town layout. Jimmy stepped in front of him. "Where are you going?" "That is not your concern, human," Kivnash said. "Everything in this town is my concern," Jimmy said. He was scared, but he was also angry. This alien had tried to erase his home. Kivnash reached for his weapon. Jimmy grabbed his arm. They struggled. Then Kivnash threw Jimmy against the wall hard. Jimmy's head cracked against the brick. He fell, dazed. Kivnash stood over him. weapon drawn. For a moment, he almost fired. But then he remembered Raxven's orders. No more killing. He lowered his weapon and walked away. Duke found Jimmy a few minutes later, holding his bleeding head. What happened? That alien lieutenant happened, Jimmy said. Duke, I'm telling you. We can't trust them. Duke helped Jimmy to his feet. Maybe not all of them, but we don't got a choice. We work together, or we all die. End of story. A month passed. Then, too. The work on the escape device continued. Bobby and Pelnara made real progress. They had built a hybrid machine that combined Veltari technology with human materials. It was ugly, held together with duct tape and wire, but it might work. The town changed too. Slowly, humans and Veltari began to see each other as people instead of enemies. Tevrin started helping Sunny in the diner, learning to cook human food. Some of the human kids taught alien soldiers how to play basketball. It was awkward and strange, but it was progress. Duke and Raxven met regularly to coordinate efforts. They sat in Duke's shop one afternoon, drinking coffee. Raxven had learned to tolerate the bitter human drink. Your people are adaptable, Raxven said. I did not expect this. Your people aren't so bad either, Duke replied. Once you stop trying to erase us, I am sorry for that, Raxven said. It was the first time he'd apologized. It was wrong. We have erased many worlds, many peoples. I never questioned it until now. Why now? Duke asked. Because now, I know you. You are not just primitives to be removed. You are people with families, with honor, with courage. I cannot ignore that anymore. Duke nodded. Well, I appreciate that. And if we get out of here, maybe your empire needs to rethink how they do things. Perhaps, Raxven said. If we survive. The next day, Bobby and Pelnara called everyone together. We think we're ready, Bobby announced. The device is built. We can test it tomorrow. Company, cheers erupted from both humans and Veltari. After 3 months of work, they finally had hope. That night, there was a celebration at Sunny's diner. She cooked a massive meal. The aliens still didn't love human food, but they ate it anyway. There was laughter and music. For one night, everyone forgot they were enemies. They were just people trying to survive. Hana watched it all and wrote in her notebook. This was history. This was the moment humans and aliens learned to work together. Whatever happened tomorrow, this moment mattered. But tomorrow would bring new problems. Because the device would work too well, and it would alert something far worse than anything they'd faced so far. The device sat in the middle of the town square. It looked like something from a mad scientist's nightmare. Copper coils wrapped around alien technology. Wires ran everywhere. Pieces of the old radio tower were bolted to sections of the crashed spaceship. Bobby had used so much duct tape that the whole thing was more silver than anything else. But according to Pelnara's calculations, it would work. The entire town gathered to watch. 4 months had passed since the Veltari crashed in the woods. 4 months of working together, learning together, living together. Now they would see if it had been worth it. Duke stood next to Raxven. The two leaders had become something like friends. You sure about this? Duke asked. No, Raxven admitted. But we have no other choice. Bobby and Pelnara made final checks on the device. All systems are ready, Pelnara reported. When we activate it, the device should punch a small hole through the dimensional barrier. We can send a signal through. Call for help. And then what? Jimmy asked. He had grown closer to the aliens over the months, but he still didn't fully trust them. Then we hope someone friendly hears it, Bobby said. On 3, Pelnara said. 1, 2, 3. She pressed the activation button. The device hummed to life. The copper coils glowed. The alien technology pulsed with blue light. Energy crackled through the air. Everyone stepped back. Then something went wrong. The device didn't just punch a small hole. It punched a massive one. The dimensional barrier tore open like fabric ripping. Through the hole, they could see normal space. They could see stars. They could see Earth. "It's working," Hana shouted. "We can get out!" But the celebration was short-lived. Alarms started blaring from the crashed ship. Pelnara ran to check her scanners. Her face went pale. "No. No. This is bad." "What's wrong?" Duke demanded. "The hole is too big. It's unstable. And it's growing. The entire bubble is destabilizing. We have 48 hours before it collapses completely." 48 hours? Raxven said. "You said we had 2 more months." "We did. But the device drew too much power from the bubble itself. I miscalculated. We accelerated the collapse. Panic spread through the crowd. People started shouting. Some wanted to try escaping through the hole right now. Others wanted to shut down the device. "Everyone calm down," Duke yelled. "Panic won't help us." "Pelnara, can we stabilize it?" "I don't know. Maybe. But we'd need to completely rebuild the device. And we don't have time." "Then we go through the hole now," Kivnash said. "Run where?" Bobby asked. "That hole leads to space. Unless you got another spaceship hidden somewhere, we can't go anywhere." Pelnara checked her scanners again. Then she went very still. "Commander, we have another problem. The hole we created sent out a signal, just like we planned. But it didn't just alert Earth or nearby ships. It alerted a Veltari warship that's been searching for us. They're approaching. They'll be here in 47 hours. The silence that followed was complete. Everyone understood what that meant. The Veltari Empire was coming. And when they arrived, they would find humans and their missing soldiers together. "They will rescue us," one of the Veltari soldiers said hopefully. "They will rescue you," Duke said coldly. "What do you think they'll do to us?" Raxven knew the answer. "They will eliminate you. All of you. They will see that you defeated Veltari soldiers, that you have knowledge of our technology. You are a threat. They will destroy this entire area. We can tell them we're friends now," Tevrin said. "Tell them we work together. It won't matter," Raxven said quietly. "The Empire doesn't care about friendships. They care about threats and assets. Humans are threats." Hana felt her stomach drop. "So we're dead either way. If we stay, the bubble collapses and kills us. If we run, the warship finds us and kills us." "There might be a third option," Bobby said slowly. He was staring at the device with the look he got when he was solving a problem. "What if we use the device differently? Instead of punching through the bubble, what if we make the whole thing disappear?" "That's impossible," Pelnara said. "But we got enormous energy," Bobby pointed out. "We got your ship's core. We got the power from the bubble itself. What if we channel all of it through the device at once? That would destroy the device, probably destroy everything for miles around. Or it might break us out of here completely," Bobby said. "Make the bubble disappear, like it was never there." Pelnara thought about this. Her mind ran through calculations. "It's possible. Extremely dangerous, but possible. If we channeled all the power at once, we might be able to collapse the bubble safely and return to normal space. But there's another problem." "What?" Duke asked. "The warship. When they arrive, they'll scan the area. They'll find their soldiers with humans. Even if we escape the bubble, we can't hide what happened here. So we hide it differently," Hana said. Everyone turned to look at her. "We fake the data. Make it look like something else happened." "What do you mean?" Raxven asked. Hana's mind was racing. "The warship is coming to investigate a missing ship and crew. What if we give them a different story? What if we make it look like the mission failed catastrophically and everyone died? If they think everyone is dead, they won't investigate further. And if we scramble the data about Earth's location, they won't be able to find us again." You want to fake our deaths? Kivnash said. Yes. And hide Earth at the same time. Make it look like the whole mission was a disaster. Nothing for them to find. Nothing worth investigating. Pelnara nodded slowly. I can alter the ship's logs, create false sensor data showing a catastrophic failure. But we'd need to make it convincing. Actual debris, energy signatures consistent with an explosion. I can handle that part, Bobby said with a grin. I got enough explosives to make one hell of a show. The plan came together quickly. They had 47 hours. They would spend the time preparing 3 things. First, Bobby and Pelnara would modify the device to safely collapse the bubble and release everyone. Second, Hana and Pelnara would create fake data logs showing a mission failure. Third, Bobby would prepare explosives to create debris and signatures that would fool the warship's scanners. It was risky. It might not work, but it was their only chance. The town became a hive of activity. Everyone had a job. Humans and Veltari worked side by side, racing against time. Sunny kept everyone fed. Hana coordinated information. Duke and Raxven made sure everything stayed on schedule. Jimmy worked with Kivnash to gather materials for Bobby's explosives. The two of them had developed a strange friendship over the months. They argued constantly, but they respected each other. If this doesn't work, we're all dead, Jimmy said. Yes. Kivnash agreed. But if it does work, I am stuck on your world forever. My empire will think I'm dead. I can never go home. Is that so bad? Jimmy asked. I mean, your empire was going to erase us. Maybe being stuck here isn't the worst thing. Kivnash thought about this. I have served the empire my whole life. It is all I know. But you are right. What the empire does is wrong. I see that now. If I must be stuck somewhere, I suppose this town is tolerable. High praise, Jimmy said with a laugh. Tevrin was helping Sunny in the diner. He had learned to make biscuits and was surprisingly good at it. Sunny, he said carefully, if we survive this, can I stay and work here? Of course, honey, Sunny said. You make the best biscuits in town. Maybe the best in the county. The hours ticked by. 40 hours left. 30. 20. The device was nearly ready. The false data was prepared. The explosives were set. 10 hours before the warship arrived, Pelnara ran final tests. It should work, she told the gathered crowd. When we activate the device, the bubble will collapse safely. We'll return to normal space. Simultaneously, Bobby's explosives will detonate, creating debris and signatures. The warship will see evidence of a catastrophic failure, and nothing more. And Earth? Hana asked. The false data will corrupt their navigational logs. They won't be able to pinpoint this world's location. As far as the Empire is concerned, this planet will be lost. Good, Duke said. Then let's do this. Everyone took their positions. The device was ready. The explosives were armed. All they had to do was wait for the warship to arrive. In the final hours, people said their goodbyes, just in case. They hugged their families. They made peace with their fears. Duke and Raxven stood together, watching the strange sky above them. Whatever happens, Duke said, it's been an honor working with you. The honor is mine, Raxven replied. You taught me that there are many kinds of people in the universe. Some are worth saving. The warship arrived exactly on schedule. It appeared in orbit, a massive vessel bristling with weapons. Inside the bubble, everyone held their breath. They're scanning, Pelnara reported. They're about to detect the bubble. We need to move now. Do it, Duke and Raxven said together. Bobby activated the device. The device screamed to life. Power surged through the copper coils. The alien technology pulsed with blinding light. Energy crackled through the air like lightning. Everyone covered their eyes. On the warship above, the captain watched his screens. The dimensional bubble is collapsing. Multiple energy signatures detected. Analysis indicates catastrophic system failure. Should we move in to rescue survivors? The officer asked. Stand by. Continue scanning. Below, in the bubble. Everything was shaking. The ground rumbled. The air felt thick and heavy. Duke grabbed onto a lamppost to stay standing. Is this supposed to happen? Yes, Pelnara shouted over the noise. The bubble is collapsing according to plan. 30 seconds. Raxven held his communication device, ready to send the false data to the warship. His hand trembled. This was treason. He was betraying his empire. But he knew it was right. Then disaster struck. Kivanash ran forward. Commander, I cannot let you do this. Kivanash. Kivanash. Rest problem. Kivanash. Lieutenant, stand down. Raxven ordered. No, I am loyal to the Empire. We must signal for rescue. Kivanash grabbed for Raxven's device. Jimmy saw what was happening and ran to stop him. He tackled Kivanash away from the commander. The two of them hit the ground hard and started fighting. Jimmy was strong, but Kivanash was stronger. The alien threw Jimmy off and reached for the communication device again. Stop! Raxven shouted, but Kivanash wasn't listening. He activated his own emergency beacon. A signal shot up toward the warship. A signal that said there were survivors. A signal that would bring the warship down on them. No, Pelnara screamed. Everything seemed to happen in slow motion. Raxven raised his weapon and fired. The energy bolt hit Kivanash in the chest. The lieutenant fell, stunned. The emergency beacon fell from his hand. Jimmy grabbed it and crushed it under his boot. But it was too late. The signal had been sent. On the warship, alarms blared. Captain, emergency beacon detected. There are survivors. Prepare landing party. We're going in. The captain was suspicious. Something about this situation felt wrong, but he had a duty to rescue his people. In the bubble, time was running out. 10 seconds, Pelnara called out. Everyone brace. Duke grabbed Sunny and pulled her close. Hana held onto her notebook. Bobby said a quick prayer. Tevrin closed his eyes. Raxven looked at his stunned lieutenant with sad eyes. The device hit maximum power. Then it released everything at once. The bubble didn't slowly dissolve. It exploded outward in a wave of energy. For a moment, everyone felt like they were being pulled in every direction at once. Then, suddenly, they were back. Back in normal space. Back on Earth. The dimensional prison was gone. And at the exact same moment, Bobby's explosives detonated. The charges he'd placed around the crashed ship went off in a massive fireball. Debris shot into the sky. Energy signatures painted the sky. To anyone watching from orbit, it looked like the ship had exploded. On the warship, the captain stared at his screens in horror. The ship just exploded. Reading multiple casualties. The dimensional collapse must have triggered their power core. Sir, the emergency beacon was from that location. Should we still send a landing party? The captain hesitated. His sensors showed a massive explosion. Debris field. Energy signatures consistent with a total loss. But that emergency beacon. Run full spectrum analysis. I want to know if anyone survived that. Below, in Hickory Falls. Pelnara was at her scanner. The warship is analyzing the explosion. They're looking for life signs. Everyone needs to hide. Now, the entire town scattered. Humans and Veltari ran into buildings, into basements. Anywhere they could hide from the warship's sensors. Pelnara activated a jamming field from the remains of the crashed ship. It wasn't strong, but it might blur their signatures enough. Minutes passed like hours. On the warship, the analysis came back. Captain, I'm reading massive interference. The explosion scattered exotic particles everywhere. I can't get a clear reading. 1. Best estimate? If anyone survived, they couldn't have lasted long. The radiation from the core breach alone would be lethal. The captain made his decision. Mark this mission as a total loss. All hands presumed dead. Send our condolences to the families. Plot a course back to base. Sir, shouldn't we investigate further? The emergency beacon could have been automatic. Could have been damaged in the explosion. We have no evidence of survivors. And I'm not risking my ship in that debris field. Set course now. The warship turned and left. Slowly, it moved away from Earth, back toward Veltari space. In the basement of Duke's shop, everyone waited in tense silence. Finally, after what felt like forever, Pelnara checked her scanner. They're leaving. They're actually leaving. The relief was immediate. People hugged each other. Some cried. Others laughed. They had done it. They had survived. They came out of hiding slowly, carefully. The strange sky was gone. The real sky was back, blue and beautiful. The sun felt warm. Everything was normal again. Except it wasn't normal, because now there were 24 Veltari soldiers standing in the middle of a small Georgia town with nowhere to go. Duke found Raxven standing alone, looking up at the sky where his empire's warship had disappeared. You okay? I am a traitor, Raxven said quietly. I betrayed my empire. I am dead to them now. You saved your people, and ours. That's not betrayal. That's honor. In your eyes, perhaps. But I can never go home. Then this is home now, Duke said. If you want it to be. Raxven looked at the human. You would accept us? After everything? We've been through hell together. Far as I'm concerned, you earned your place here. A town meeting was called that night. Everyone crammed into Sonny's diner. The Veltari stood against one wall. Uncertain. The humans filled the tables. Duke stood up. We got a situation. We got 24 aliens with nowhere to go. We could turn them over to the government, but that opens a whole can of worms about what happened here. Questions we probably don't want to answer. Or, Hana said, we keep this quiet. They stay here. They become part of our town. You want aliens living here? One man asked. Just like that? They worked alongside us for 4 months, Sonny said. They bled with us. Some of them saved our lives. Tevrin makes better biscuits than anyone in this town except me. Why wouldn't we want them to stay? Because they tried to erase us, someone shouted. And we shot 6 of them, Bobby pointed out. We all got blood on our hands. Question is, do we move forward or stay stuck in the past? The debate went on for hours. Finally, they put it to a vote. Stay or go, accept the Veltari or turn them away. The vote was close, but it passed. By a slim margin, Hickory Falls decided to keep its new residents. Raxven stood and addressed the town. His English was much better now. I speak for all my people. We are grateful. We will work hard. We will contribute. We will be good neighbors. And we will never forget what you have given us. A second chance. Over the next weeks, life in Hickory Falls slowly returned to normal. But it was a new normal. Raxven became Duke's assistant at the gun shop. It was strange, seeing a 7-foot gray alien helping customers pick out fishing rods. But people got used to it. Pelnara and Bobby opened a repair shop together. They fixed cars, computers, and anything else people brought in. Their combination of human and alien technology made them the best mechanics in the state. Tevrin officially became Sonny's assistant at the diner. His biscuits became locally famous. People started coming from other towns just to try them. Kivnash, after serving time in Duke's makeshift jail, started working at Jimmy's gas station. The two of them still argued constantly, but they were friends. Real friends. The other Veltari found their places too. Some worked in construction. Some helped at the school. Some worked farms. They learned. They adapted. they became part of the community. Hana kept her promise and wrote a book about what happened. She called it The Hickory Falls Incident and published it as fiction. It became a bestseller. People loved the story of a small town that survived an alien invasion. They had no idea it was all true. 6 months after the bubble collapsed, there was a town barbecue. Humans and Veltari gathered in the park. Kids played together. Adults talked and laughed. Tevrin grilled burgers while Sunny supervised. Bobby and Pelnara argued about sports. Jimmy taught young Veltari soldiers how to throw a football. Duke and Raxven sat at a picnic table, drinking beer. The alien had learned to tolerate alcohol, though he still didn't love it. "Think they'll ever come back?" Duke asked. "Possibly," Raxven said. "But not soon. We covered our tracks well, and space is vast. Finding one small planet again would be very difficult." "Good. I like things quiet." They sat in comfortable silence, watching their town, human and alien, living together, working together. Proof that even the most unlikely alliances could work. High above Earth, a Veltari scout ship passed by on patrol. Its sensors swept the planet below. But the interference from the explosion months ago still clouded the data. Earth remained unmarked on their charts. Just another unremarkable world in a galaxy full of them. The scout ship moved on, searching for a missing crew that would never be found. In Hickory Falls, life continued. The town had faced the impossible and won. Not with advanced technology or brilliant strategy. They won with moonshine, duct tape, and the stubborn refusal to give up that defined small-town America. Years later, when people asked Duke what happened during those strange 6 months, he would smile and say, "Aliens tried to erase our town. But they underestimated rednecks. Big mistake." And it was. Because Hickory Falls stood. It survived. And in surviving, it proved something important. That humanity's strength wasn't just in our technology or our weapons. It was in our ability to adapt, to forgive, to bring even our enemies together as friends. The aliens came to erase a town. Instead, they found themselves erased from their own empire. And in losing everything, they gained something better. A home. A family. A second chance. And sometimes, that's all anyone really needs.